All right. Totally forgot this was happening. I totally forgot this was happening. But here we are. Here we are. Get rid of that. Yeah, so welcome to Everything is Working as it should. Totally forgot this was happening. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be okay. All right. All right. 60 seconds. Totally forgot this was happening. All right. I completely forgot this was happening. All right. Actually, what I want to do is this. All right. So if I go here, what's up, everybody that joined here? I'm just pulling everything up here. I thought it was like at 11, or 11:58, but nope. It starts now. So starts in 7 seconds. So hopefully the audio is working. It is. There we go. All right. Here we go.
Hey everyone,
Here we
this is
go.
Aaron Sumo, Senior Game Designer for NHL 25.
Franchise
Today I'm here
mode.
to talk to you about franchise mode. So there's a few new things going into franchise mode. Everything from a brand new streamlined hub, box scores, game logs, and split stats, contract clauses and CBA updates, revamped player and coach conversations, and some community requested tuning changes that we did. Over here, we have our brand new streamlined hub. It's a unique change from previous years. The goal here was to make less tabbing and surface more information for you as users to be able to get the most information possible to make educated decisions. So you'll see a brand new quick links on the left-hand side here. Everything that's really important is showing up here. So all that stuff that needs to be done on a more regular basis is there at your fingertips. You'll also notice a bunch of new widgets that are on the screen. You'll have the projected goalie widgets. I'll show you the goalies that are about to start for that game, as well as on that right-hand side, a matchup widget showing you how you're matching up against the opponent you're about to play, as well as the conference standings, division standings, your team leaders from forward points, defense points, all the way down to rookie and goalie wins. And then you have your league leader stats as well. And then on top of that, we've added the ticker that's in the trade deadline minigame at the bottom, which will continuously feed you information as you go from screen to screen as well. You're able to access the calendar and then also tab through to go through all the various tabs that you would have had access last year, in addition to a few new tabs that allow you to talk to players and coaches. Going into box scores, we'll bring up all the games that are played in the NHL. So all 1,300 plus games, or if you have a custom league, all however many games you've chosen to do. You can go to any game, not just your own teams. You can go to any game and select a game and view the box score for that game. I can view the events that are from that game, who scored, what penalties were there, as well as the stats for each individual player on both teams, and including the 3 stars as well. So you'll get a really good snapshot of every single game that happens in the NHL. And to feed into that stats motif that we got going on, we also have added new game logs and split stats for each individual player. So if I go into Elias Pettersson here, I can check out his full career stats, and you'll notice that there's a new filter that's shown here, which is full career stats. Now you got game logs.
All right, so you could actually take a look at all of his stats.
Every single game that he has played in this year. The
you can actually check all the games too. That's absolutely insane.
Assists, points, with date of the game, and the opponent of the game as well. So
a lot of information.
How that player is doing against every single team and on a per game basis. In addition, you can also see the split stats. So you can see their last 10 games, their home split, their away split, their division split, conference, and on top of that, their monthly and then their per team stats. So how they have done against Florida, how they've done against Edmonton, Chicago, etc. And then lastly, we've also added an awards tab to the player info, and you'll be able to view any award that that player has won throughout their entire career. So it's not just the last 5 years. If you have Alex Ovechkin, could be something that he won back in the 2010s. All that shows up on this screen and for you to play and look at with throughout the course of franchise mode. One of our biggest fan requests is we added no move, no trade clauses to the game. In addition, we also overhauled our contract negotiation system to fit that in. So now you'll notice when you come into the free agency screen, you'll see an org interest bar. Every single player has a contract interest bar and an organization interest bar, and those will now dictate whether or not a player will want to sign with your team. So if a player has a very low organization bar, you may need to convince them to actually join your team. Those 2 bars now dictate and change who you target in free agency, because it may not be possible for you to get the best free agent because they may not like your organization because of the taxes that you have, the market size that you have, your status as a contender. If they want to be playing on a championship team and you're a rebuilder, they may not want to join your team. Now, you can offer them other incentives. You'll see promises on the bottom right-hand corner and player requests. Certain players will have requests that they would like to have, like playing on the top line power play or playing in the first line. And you'll also be able to give out clauses. So you'll see that you can give out no movement clauses, no trade clauses, modified no trade clauses. You can give out different structures, whether reduced, full. It'll change the number of teams that you can or cannot be traded to. So we've added a lot.
So you can like fully lock down a player
and a lot of
for the entire year or so.
The contract negotiation engine that wasn't there before. I'll go into a player that doesn't want to sign with my team currently. Give you an example of what I mean in terms of you have to persuade that player. Now, Sam Bennett here doesn't want to join my team. You're able to do certain actions to potentially win them over. You can charm them. You can gain some organization interest if they take to it. So in this case it did, which is great. Now you can now talk about the contract or go into the organization and kind of pitch them on the organization. So if I go into here, I can now pitch him on the market size and the team status and persuade him into wanting to join my team and forego his expectation of preferring to play in a smaller market like Florida. So in this case, it's very risky to do so. It may negatively affect the organization, which may basically mean I'm out of the running completely. But if I do persuade him and it is successful, I can get him to join my team. So in this case, it's successful. And then if I go into organization, you'll see the bar go up to full. So now I have persuaded him into wanting to potentially join my team, which is huge. So he went from not interested at all, to being persuaded into joining my team, and now I can go and offer him a contract. The first offer that you see here, the number of years, will always be what that player wants. You can go through and select different years. They may or may not accept a 1-year deal, so if you do select 1 year or 2 years, they may say, I'm not interested in that, and just end the conversation there. But if you go into the 4 years, they will let you go in and start negotiating. So negotiate will try to make a more team-friendly deal. So the higher your organization bar, the more likely you can negotiate a player down in salary. You can also improve the offer if you like. This allows you to add extra money, clauses, promises to your contract offer. So if I want to increase the salary here, I can increase it up by a lot or a little, so I'll add $2 million to the salary. But I can also improve the offer further by adding in a clause, so I can give him a full move, no trade, whatever it may be. I'm going to give him a full no move clause, as well as I'll promise him first line minutes. So he will more than likely now want to sign because I have given him the world. You can also table the contract as well. So if you think you've negotiated a deal with the player to the sense, but you want to try out and sign another player just in case, you can table the deal. There's a risk to this, obviously. If another team steps in and offers a contract to them, they may get taken and may sign with another team. So it's kind of a risk reward on your aspect of it too, whether or not you're willing to take that chance. So in this case, Sam Bennett accepts the offer because it was so good. I gave him a full no move. I gave him $2 million more, and I also gave him a first line promise. So he's now on my team. So I can literally convince him from not wanting to join my team to joining my team through the power of the conversation engine.
So next up, with the addition of no move and no trade clauses, obviously when you want to go and trade a player that has a trade clause, you're going to need to figure out what team they can or cannot be traded to. So if we go into Aaron Ekblad here, you'll see he has a modified no trade clause, and you can go into the new contract info screen that shows you the trade clause, the years that are left on the trade clause, and the teams that you can trade that player to. So on the right hand side, there's a tradable team list. He can be traded to 20 teams, and there's 12 teams that he has a no trade for. So if I go to Anaheim or Boston or Buffalo, he is an eligible player for me to actually put on the trade block. If I put him on a team that he doesn't have a trade clause for, I would need to actually convince Ekblad to waive his no trade clause. So you can go into the proposed trade screen, select the player that you want to trade, and it'll automatically have you initiate a conversation with them. You'll see that I'll have to persuade the player into waiving their no trade clause. It failed, which means I can no longer have Ekblad be eligible to be traded to the Carolina Hurricanes. The other way to get them to talk about their clauses or their options is to actually go in through the new franchise hub. So if I went into Matthew Tkachuk here, I have different options to have him potentially waive his clause or change his clause for the year. I'm able to get him to maybe give me a list of 1 team, 2 teams, 3 teams, or outright waive his no trade clause. So I'm going to ask him maybe give me 1 team that he would want to potentially go for. In this case, he actually did. So now I can go into Matthew Tkachuk's player card and figure out who he actually wants to be traded to. Now you can see that he has a modified no trade clause, but going to his contract info, he wants to go to the Montreal Canadiens. So I can now add him to the block for the Montreal Canadiens, and then you'll be able to make a trade. The conversation engine allows you to kind of have a little bit of flexibility and how much you want that player to waive, whether it be fully waive their clause or to kind of select a certain amount of teams. It allows you to pick a riskier or less riskier.
It seems like it's be like a full like rebuild of like franchise mode, almost to me. It's almost like
that we've added
completely
is a
new
brand new conversation engine. You've seen a little bit of it in the no move, no trade, but we wanted to make every conversation feel important and have a meaningful impact on your team. So gone are the ice time conversations where players are complaining about things. It's now more of a proactive system where you are now assigning players goals or trying to make that player better or try to fit into your system as you need to. If I go into Orchinski here, you'll notice that there's 2 options for me to select from: season goal or on ice play. Each of these has their own subset of items that you'll be able to select through. For season goals, this actually influences player development, something that in the past you as a user didn't really have a lot of influence over. Now you will with season goals. So you can select a season goal. You'll have 2 options options of short-term goals. So these are half-season goals. They're shorter goals and they give you less of a reward potentially. And then we have long-term goals, which allow you to perform a stat challenge, an award challenge, and then an X Factor challenge. These challenges allow you to give a player potentially an X Factor ability, whether it be a zone or a superstar ability. Award challenges are asking a player to win an award, and by winning that award, they may gain attribute points as well. And then you have stat challenges, which you may ask a player to score X amount of goals, assists, or plus minus or block shots, and they will gain potential ratings impact onto themselves based off of completing that goal. Now, it isn't that it's a hard line, so as long as I'm close, he'll get some of that reward to passing, but he may not get the full amount. So it is really forgiving in that sense, but you do want to get as close as you possibly can to that marker to help influence that player. So in this case, I'll set a goal to have him score 40 assists, and then once that's in there, you'll be able to check out the goal in the morale screen as you sim through a season and you look at their stats and see how they're doing. Now that I've assigned a player goal to that player, I can also go into the on-ice play and potentially have them change their play style or their position. You'll notice on the upper right hand side of the screen that you have something called adaptability. Every player has adaptability rating. This adaptability rating allows us to control how likely a player will potentially adhere to being able to change to a new playing style or a position that they play. The younger the player, it'll actually make it a little bit more easier for that player to be a little bit more malleable and a little bit more easier for them to learn that new play style or position. So an older player will be a little bit more set in their ways and may not be able to switch to that position or play style, but true to real life as well. So in this instance here, we're able to look at these two options of play style and position. I'll select to change his position. It'll give me options to be either straight up, change him out of left defense. I can move him to right defense as well. These are both persuades and they have different factors that weigh in. So in this case, I want to add a secondary position. To lower his defensive awareness rating, the harder it will be to convince him. If I want to change his position, players with higher defensive awareness rating will be harder to convince. So players that are really good at defense, they probably don't want to move out from defense. But if the player has a lower defensive awareness, you may be able to get them to change to a forward. Here I'll ask Korchinski to change his position. So in this case, that persuade failed. In many cases, the persuade may or may not work, but you do have the ability to change a player's position and play style. It all has a multitude of different factors that go into it. Again, we really wanted to give you as the user the ability to have more fidelity, more control over the players to fit within the system that you're trying to build.
So in addition, you can also talk to your head coach. You can talk about your preseason or your game plan for the team. And these essentially are buffs to your team that you get for the season, whether it be conditioning, strength training, skill training, 5-on-5 focus, power play, penalty kill, video sessions. So all of these will have different buffs and debuffs. I've selected power play. This will give my team a buff for the power play, but also have a debuff on my penalty kill. So in this case, I got him to adhere to that preseason focus. I can go back in and talk to him also about the game plan that he has. So we can talk about preferred lines as he is locked until the regular season, and I'll get into that as well. Ice time allocation is also locked until the regular season, but this will allow you to allocate whether or not you want your team to roll 4 lines, 3 lines, top heavy. It allows you to kind of manipulate that and have the best possible situation for your team. So now that we're here in the regular season, I'm now able to chat with my coach. So if I'm in the edit line screen, I can hit the Y button to go into strategies and then bring up the coach card from here. I can go into this meeting availability and then chat with the coach about their game plan. So I can now talk to them about their preferred lines or ice time allocation. As that's no longer locked, I can get them to potentially change those things. So in this case, I want him to reorganize or lock players into certain lines. I can now do so. I persuaded them into being open to it. If in the instance where it fails, you can still force the coach to go through this flow. You will lose morale as a trade-off, but at the end of the day, you are the GM and you hire the coach, so you are able to brute force your way through it. So in this case, I want to look at my forwards and I want to have my line 2 center be Elias Pettersson. So if I go into line 2 and center, I can now lock in Elias Pettersson as the center for that line. Now I can also make his left wing. In this instance, I'll just put Jake DeBrusk. And then if I go into that align screen again, you'll notice that when I hit best lines now, those players should now get into that slot. You now see Elias Pettersson and Jake DeBrusk in that role. So if I move Pettersson down to the 4th line here and then I re-hit best lines, it will always lock them into that line. So if he gets hurt and comes back into the lineup, it will remember that and put him back into the right spot. So you can lock all your lines exactly how you want it and really help the usability for playing with injuries on. So you're able to have your lines always constructed in the way that you want them, and the coach will make sure that they do best lines in that manner. It is quite a cumbersome thing. So this was our way with the power of the conversation engine to allow you to actually lock in players into those lines.
This is a
Another
long
feature that
video.
we added to really help the roster sharing community was the addition.
Wasn't
of draft
expecting
picks
this to be long, but there's a lot of information.
Now you're able to trade 5 years worth of draft picks in the player movement screen to keep up with the real world as you're waiting for the latest roster update from us. So in this case, I can trade Anaheim's and Edmonton's 1st round pick to the Buffalo Sabres, and then you'll be able to go in and see that Buffalo has Anaheim and Edmonton's 1st round pick, and you're able to upload this roster file to roster sharing, and then you'll be able to have others download it with the correct draft picks, and you can then start your franchise mode when the latest trade comes out and you're waiting for the roster update. You'll be able to make the adjustment yourself and then go into franchise mode and start your franchise mode if you need to.
That's a big change there, as well as we've added a few more
There's a lot of
prospects
lot of
into the
changes.
draft. Make the league as you get later years, refresh that player pool.
It kind of looks like it's
Overall,
just a
be around
rebuild
the
of
same amount
everything
as well.
of franchise
We
mode.
added a lot to franchise mode this year. We had a lot of fun working on the game, and we can't wait for you to pick up early access on September 27th.
Well, there you go. There's a lot of information regarding this video. Like, a lot of information. If we refresh the page, it should give us a true 17 minutes. Jeez. But I like some of the additions they added regarding franchise mode. I don't usually play franchise mode. I usually just go in it to get a couple of achievements and then bounce, pretty much. But the overall, like, talking to, negotiate with players, add like a no trade clause, no movement clause, all this stuff is great. They have this in real life, so I didn't know why they didn't have it in NHL, but now they do. So it's actually pretty good. All the changes they made regarding like talking to players, like try to convince them to join your organization, that's pretty cool.
Approve the offer if
You can actually improve the offer and like change it and give it more money or less years, no clause, like you do all this stuff. And then you can set challenges and set like season goals for that player too as well. So it's actually pretty cool. Hopefully the conversation works better than Be a Pro. Yeah. Hopefully this translates over to Be a Pro. So maybe you can negotiate your contract with an NHL team. So maybe this is a glimpse into what is going to be into Be a Pro, and they don't want to talk about Be a Pro because to them Be a Pro is really not that popular as a game mode because they haven't changed it in so many years. So maybe next year they'll change it. But you can just set challenges for each player, like assists, goals, everything like that. It's actually pretty cool. So maybe when it comes down to Be a Pro, you could change like, oh, I want this much money, and oh, I want this much ice time, and I want to be locked into this position and stuff like that. Maybe you can carry that over to Be a Pro regarding like everything. So like maybe like I want to be on the first line, centerman, locking me in. So maybe that'll be it. But we should wait and see. And in 7 days we get to play NHL 25. So in 7 days we get to play NHL 25. If you're on a PS5 or Xbox Series S or Series X, you could play it. Plus, if you're a EA Play member, or yeah, is it EA Play? Whatever, the EA app, the EA subscription game service. I forget what it's called now. I believe it's on sale on PlayStation for like $1, I believe. But yeah, you could play it. If you don't like the game, you don't have to buy it. If you do, then you get a 10% discount. So what I'm more interested in is this, the whole conversation regarding the player. Like, you could change salary, you could make promises, you could trade, you could do no two-way, years offered, clause, everything like that. I'm really interested in that and see if that will carry over to be a pro. And you can actually convince a player to join your team. So if he's not interested in joining your team, you can actually try to convince him, like, hey, I'll give you $12 million. That's it. Let's move on from there, right? So, but yeah, I'd love to see some more regarding this whole conversation bit. There's probably going to be some news coming out about it in the next like couple days on EA's website or anything like that. So we'll definitely take a look at that in a separate video. But overall, I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing so far with franchise mode, with the conversations and all that stuff, and you can set like promises to players and all that stuff, which is actually pretty cool. And you can lock in players on certain positions. That's actually pretty cool. So if you're working on like getting a certain player that you wanted on your team and you want to keep him at the position, you can actually lock him into there. So that's actually pretty cool. But yeah, anyways, that was the franchise mode deep dive. You guys can let me know what you guys think in the chat, but also in the comment section down below of this video when it gets uploaded to YouTube after this. So I wasn't ready for this video. I thought it started at 11:50, but it started at 10. So I got the time wrong. But hopefully they carry on this conversation type to be a pro. I would love to see it in be a pro regarding like contract negotiations and stuff like that. I would love to see that. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for me. I know it was a short live stream. Usually these are, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the deep dive. If you guys did, like I said, make sure you guys comment down below what you guys think. I'll get your guys' opinions. Maybe I'll put it in the the video as we talk about it more and stuff like that. More information comes out about this, and then we could talk about it more and stuff like that. But anyways, we got to end there. Yeah, there's really nothing else to. I don't really play this game mode, so I don't really have an understanding on how everything works. So I have to take a little bit more and look into it and stuff like that. So, but anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. This will be uploaded right after, and all that stuff. So, but anyways, I'll see you guys next one.